大家好, hi everyone, it's P again from them.And, and today we're talking about Chinese characters. So why do we even need to learn Chinese characters? Honestly, if you want to take your Chinese language learning seriously, learning the characters is a step that you just can't ignore. I know that at the beginning, when you're hearing Chinese and you're reading Chinese for the first time, you have pinyin, you have the sounds, you have the characters and all these strokes that you have to memorize, and it seems very daunting. But honestly, if you want to learn Chinese properly, that means you want to learn it for the long run, maybe past the HSK or like move to China because of work or school, then the characters are something that you really can't ignore. So as you probably already know, in Chinese, every character has its own pronunciation. But then all of these pronunciations, or pinyin syllables, also have multiple characters attached to them. And without context, or just listening to the words without reading the characters can cause a lot of confusion. So here's an example. 挚爱, 挚爱. So 挚爱can mean two different things. One can mean to treat cancer and one can mean to cause cancer. And because of the first zhi syllables, it just means totally different things, which is why characters are really, really important. Alright, let's have another example to further illustrate this. So we have this other word, 树木, 树木. So 树木 can mean either tree or it can mean numbers or amount. So as you can see, just like hearing the words, they sound the same, 树木, 树木, but because the characters are different and they mean completely different things, without context or without knowing the words, you might easily confuse something for something else. Alright, so don't be scared, but there are about 50,000 these characters in existence right now. I know, I'm sorry, it sounds daunting and horrible, but honestly, don't worry. By learning about like 500 of the most common Chinese characters, you can already recognize about 75% of modern Chinese. So you know how people say that Chinese is like a pictographic language. So what you see is actually an image of a real thing in real life. And in a lot of cases, that's true. Much of early Chinese actually came from these images and are transformed to the characters. So you have something like huo, which is fire, so that's the little like fire looking thing. And then you have mu, which is a tree, and it actually kind of does look like a tree. You also have shan, which is a mountain, and it like the three, it's a mountain. So it's actually not as difficult in the beginning, and as long as you train yourself to just look at these characters and like pick them out, you'll be able to sort of derive a meaning of more difficult characters the further you go along in your studies. Okay, so with everything we've talked about, how can you actually learn your Chinese characters efficiently, quickly, and successfully? So I have a couple of tips that'll help you learn your Chinese characters much better. Alright, number one. I feel like one of the most important and most helpful tips I can give you is to learn the rule and the stroke order for handwriting first. I know that a lot of people, me also when I was first starting, would see a Chinese character and write it or copy it like how I would an image or a drawing, which may help some, but it's not the most efficient way of learning your characters. Of the thousands of Chinese characters, there are actually only 4 main types, and there are actually only 8 strokes that you need to master to write all of these characters down. So these 8 strokes follow a specific rule order. It goes from left to right, top to bottom, and then from outside to inside. And it's actually really easy as long as you keep on practicing. And by the time you're able to really work on these stroke orders and the characters, it becomes easier in the future when you encounter more difficult characters. So number 2, learn how to recognize the characters. I know it sounds straightforward, but as in any language, you gotta learn how to read before you write. So in Chinese, when you type in a syllable on your phone, on your laptop, lots of different characters are going to show up, and it's important that you know which character is which. So I suggest you really work on those characters, learn how to recognize them, and distinguish them from one and the other. And of course, handwriting is still useful for memorizing all these characters. So going together, reading and writing and working and just writing them one by one will be really helpful. So having a piece of paper and pencil with you at times is very, very helpful. So yeah, that's about it. That's all we have on characters for today. Honestly, I just really suggest that you learn characters from the very beginning. Don't forget that it's a very important part of your language learning. It's always four things: you're reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And just by focusing on these four things at the same time will make things so much easier for you in the long run. So for more information and detailed stuff, just check out Dig Mandarin. As always, this is Pia and 加油! Good luck, everybody. Bye, 再见.